Um, a lot of people, claim that they didn't really like guns and such, and then when this ban came about, they went out and bought some. Then there's a lot of people that go, I'd rather just stab somebody or have a club or something. Well, I mean, you think it's more humane or less barbaric to beat a man's skull in? Um, have any of you ever, seen what a knife wound does to somebody's abdomen? I mean, you know, and a lot of people are like, yeah, well, it's not fair to go at somebody and to bring a gun to a knife fight. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is in that situation. If somebody's trying to hurt you or your family, you'd be a lot more humane popping that guy and surviving than maybe losing in a knife battle or whatever you think is necessary to do. You know, there's a lot of sort of back and forth about all this inane stuff that makes a rifle an assault weapon, which is just kind of ridiculous. I mean, you really think a collapsing stock is gonna if any of you have ever shot a weapon without a stock on it, that isn't easy to do. I mean, it's harder to do that. Does a muzzle brake really, if you guys have ever shot an AK, an AK recoils no matter what kind of muzzle brake is on it. There's recoil there. It's all just very nanny, and none of it's going to really do any good again because the bad guys are always going to be able to get their full auto shit or whatever semi-auto stuff they want because they don't care about paperwork. I also think that previous felons should be, well, here's my feelings on crime and punishment. If you've gone to prison for a felony that's non-violence related, let's say, a lot of people call that a victimless felony, a victimless crime. If you've gone to prison for what's considered a victimless crime, you've done your time, you're out, you've served your debt to society, then your rights should be restored. But they're not. You're retroactively punished as an ex-con, because in more than one way, you're never going to be able to own a gun again unless you go through a lot of paperwork and have your rights restored, which means it's going to probably cost you 10 grand, and you're going to have to be squeaky clean for 5 years, which is hard to do. Not even a traffic violation, they said. So you may as well not drive for 5 years. I've gone 5 years without a ticket, but, you can't guarantee that that's going to happen. The other way that these people are punished is, they can't get work. Checking that box on a job app essentially disqualifies you. So that might seem strange there, but I think again, if you've served your debt to society and it was a non-violent crime of any type, your rights should be restored appropriately, and your background is at that point no one else's business as long as you're out legally. The only thing that Social Security background check should turn up is whether that person should still be in prison or not. That would be the important thing. And I guess there can be a box on a job application that says, have you committed a violent felony, or a felony associated with violence, or something like that. So that's kind of where I am on the criminal thing. As to what types of firearms should be available, well, if you think about it, we've always had the same weapons as the military. Most of you could probably get online right now and go to your local state militia's website. There's a militia in your state and you can join it. But they're going to require you to have your own weaponry. You're going to have your own weapon. You're going to have to be responsible, to show up for training. You're going to have to pass a light criminal background check if you don't want to be a captain or a sergeant. But a lot of people would be more comfortable joining a militia than the army. At least you're protecting, your country. You're not going off to Iraq and fighting for ideals that, are questionable to you on both sides of the fence. But, so I guess what I'm saying is I think that we should have the same weapons as the military has. A semi-auto AR-15 is a very suitable weapon for home defense, for hunting, for all kinds of different applications you might need a firearm or a good rifle for. I don't see people needing hand grenades and stuff. Explosives that can lead to other things, but it might also be a little hypocritical of me to say that. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think AK should be available. I think AR should be available. Any kind of handgun and any kind of caliber you want. I don't see any reason why people shouldn't be allowed to own these things. Again, what if something does happen? What if the crap, hits the fan and everything? One day it could be if you stay in the city, you're giving up your rights, and if you go out in the country, then you're free. Again, if you believe anything John Titor said. But I don't know. I think that this whole thing, they thought the guy at Sandy Hook committed that crime with his AR, but that was out in the car. He committed those crimes with several handguns, to my understanding, and they don't seem to have a problem with handguns. Now, where gun people tend to damn themselves a little is where they say, well, the size of the magazine doesn't matter because you can just change them out. Well, that's where the good old GOV is going to be, so why you need a 30-rounder. So it is hard to sort of argue some things around. And I certainly don't think people need rocket launchers and grenade launchers and shit. People should have access to, rifles and handguns. And again, there's also the recreational aspect of these things. I really like marksmanship. I like taking an aim on a target, and I don't go hunting. I don't necessarily believe in hunting for sport. I believe in hunting for the to solve a hunger problem. So would I be prepared to kill an animal and like skin it and stuff if I had to? Oh yeah. I have devoured a catfish raw because I was homeless and hungry and took a stab to the face when I did that. Still have the scar. Hurts. Or did hurt. Hunger will drive someone to the appropriate means to take care of that hunger. Anyway, just to kind of recap, open carry I think should happen. Because, when that happens, and concealed carry holders apparently feel like this, to a certain extent, in that they feel like they have that insurance there, right? There's less to worry about. People can't order you around. People can't make you do things. They have to negotiate with you. So I suppose there is a little sense of power that goes along with it for some people. But it does equal the playing field. Um, I think that there's a famous quote. Abraham Lincoln may have freed all the slaves, but Sam Colt's the one that made all men equal. And by extension, John Moses Browning. And again, I think that people should be able to own more or less the same weapons that the military has. And the whole full auto thing's been solved with slide fire types of stocks and trigger systems. Anyway, so if you know how to use a slide fire stock pretty well, you can just hose those rounds out like a squirt gun, man. Almost faster than what the Army gets, since they're stuck at 3-round burst. My understanding on why we went to 3-round burst is because there were too many guys spraying and praying during Nam, and wasted a lot of ammo. Heated the M16s up a little too much, caused jams, stuff like that. And I don't really think, people should have to really even fill out 4473s and stuff like that. I mean, I think you should just be able to buy a gun if you're out on if you shouldn't be in prison and you're of the appropriate age. Now, you can see why they made printing lower receivers illegal for right now. They have no control over who's printing those out. It could be some 14-year-old kid. Those could be sold. It's a little harder to do that with legit lowers and everything like that, because you have to go through an FFL anyway. And once you have it, it's yours, so you technically could sell it. But they want to control who's using and selling those things. So it does make some sense why they did that. It's disappointing, but it does make sense. I mean, that's really all I have to say on it. I don't think that getting rid of firearms is going to make things any safer. If a person wants to go out and take lives, they're going to do it, with a knife, with their bare hands. The Sandy Hook thing happened, and then this guy in China went into this pre-K and stabbed 19 kids. You don't hear about that. He didn't have a gun. So those are just kind of my thoughts on gun control. I think that it's strict enough. They could let a few things go even. Anyway, I'm going to call this one here, and you guys have a good night. goemonronin signing off. Don't be too angry at me just for expressing my opinion. Feel free to express yours. I'm going to restart my system now.